Hey you, I'm Mark, husband of one, father of three, maker of puns, climber of trees, grower of businesses, pitcher of tents, occasional cutter of cheese, word nerd, and lover of families. Oh no. Oh no, not yet. No. Oh, here he comes. Where's my oar? Showed that Kraken who's boss. At least until like 2 p.m. this afternoon. I think I'll be due for another attack by then. Let's jump into it. Hey, welcome to all of you bandits and chilies. This episode is the first of a series of episodes I'm going to do on etymology or word studies. And this one is going to be terribly terrific, awfully awesome, as we look at those words and what they mean and the lessons we can learn from that. So put your nerd glasses on. If you're a fan of the IT crowd, it's like Moss with his glasses that he has when he's excited to put on slightly larger glasses. So I'll give you a moment to do that in preparation to get nerdy. So awful used to have the connotation of both negative and positive, right? And it kind of gravitated to become just a representation of the negative in English. And the word awesome replaced it initially as a slang term and then kind of mainstreamed into general language. So something that is awful, we think of it as being awful, and conversely, something that is awesome is awesome. But what a great definition, Mark. But the root thing that is being described there, they come from the same root word, and the same is true with terrible and terrific. Essentially, the same thing happened. And what I find really interesting about that, other than the fact that like just how the words have developed over time, is what they're seeking to describe. I think holds a sort of deeper truth about the human experience. They're seeking to describe, in our sense of awe, something that is just amazing, something that really is bigger than ourselves and beyond perhaps our ability to comprehend, or just something that really, fills us with a sense of fear, dread, existential dread, because we just can't really, it's so far beyond the realm of what we're familiar with, what we're comfortable with, what we know, that it gives us that feeling. But at the same time, that also is like the call to adventure, because the ocean is a really good example of this, right? And thinking of this like back in the days, like the next sort of frontier, I guess, is space. But back in the days of explorers, before we had the full world mapped out, you can just imagine being in a society where for your entire life you probably never went more than like 5 miles from where you were born. Like everything was within this small, confined area. And for the average person, if you did travel, a further distance than that, it was probably a one-way journey. It was probably we're going from here and we're moving over there and we're settling over there. And so the spirit of adventure and exploration, it's really it's so hard for us to comprehend. Given that, for me, if I go to a city that I'm not familiar with, um, I'm just totally reliant on my GPS to, get me to a supermarket or something, right? um, I have a vague understanding of how I could potentially cope without that, but I don't really need to do it. And I kind of get lazy with it. And I'm very conscious of this and somewhat insecure about it, because I don't really want to be that person that is just totally reliant on the GPS, but at the same time, it's just perfectly convenient. And but we have the whole world at our fingertips, really, don't we? And yet, it was just the norm for the rest of human history that you just didn't know what was beyond. You might not have known what was beyond those hills. There was probably legends about what was between here and the other side of those hills. Maybe there was um, monsters and dragons and all sorts of things that could go wrong between here and that journey over there. And so this fear of the unknown uh, is a really core part of the human experience. And even though we have the world mapped out at our fingertips in terms of, geography, we still have that same sort of sense in terms of our comfort zone. We might not, be confined perhaps to a 5 mile radius of where we were born geographically as the average person anymore or something like that, but we might have a similar thing in terms of our comfort zone as a person, in terms of um, how we are socialized, what we're comfortable doing, what we're comfortable thinking, how we're able to expand our thinking and work on our mindset and our view towards just the way that things should be, or the way that things could be. Um, Giving yourself permission to think bigger, to dream bigger, to really analyze your core beliefs, to look at your views towards money and what its role is within your life, and how your attitude towards that, maybe different from that with which you were raised, or that with which your parents or grandparents were raised. And so there's all of these other things where we have to, in order to grow and expand, we have to step outside of our comfort zone. I was listening to a Jordan Peterson thing a little bit ago, and he was talking about as he often does, he's talking about dragons. He was talking about the mythology of dragons, and it's this really common, cross cultural myth of the dragon. And he was describing it as like the embodiment of all predators. Like it's just the depiction of a predator, because you might have a threat that to you that is, a snake or a lion or something. This one, it's like it's everything. It's everything all together. It's got claws, it flies, it breathes fire, it's got huge teeth, and yet dragons are depicted as guarding treasure. And he contrasts this in an interesting way by saying, like, imagine the mythology of rabbits, for example. They might have this, predatory myth of a dragon, but their response to the dragon is, instead of, oh, there's a dragon, quick, kill it and we'll get the treasure, their response is, oh, there's a dragon, quick, stay still, right? So we have within us this sort of call to adventure, this sense of the need to explore, and really we're built to grow and expand and to develop and to push ourselves to become more. We have dreams and aspirations that I'm pretty certain that rabbits don't have. And when we seek out those dreams, there are inevitably dragons along the way. So with that, the gap between the zone between awful and awesome, and the zone between terrible and terrific, it's really this space of optimization for our growth and exploration. Because if we're fully on the extreme of terrified, then we become like the rabbits. We become petrified, right? Where we're frozen with fear. But then if everything is just terrific and hunky-dory, we are fully within our comfort zone and we don't feel the need to move. So in between those two is where excitement and curiosity is. And that's where all of the growth happens. It's just that stepping out of our comfort zone. It's that call to adventure. It's that exploration. And then as we do that, what happens is the comfort zone gets bigger. And so our call to explore goes further. Likewise with, ancient peoples exploring with going over the mountains or with ships on the seas. As they explored a new territory, it was no longer a new territory. It was now just a territory. They knew that this island was there, or that was where this cave was, and whatever. They got familiar with that. It became the known, but there was still all of the rest of the unknown. And for us, again, contrasting the geography with every other element of our life, like our mindsets, our beliefs, our just everything else that we're dealing with on a personal level, on an interpersonal level, there is so much more of everything else than there is of you. There's so much more of the rest of the world, of the rest of society, than there is of me. And so when we face that, there's always more territory that is part of the unknown than there is that's part of the known, which is terrible. It's terrifying, but it's also terrific because we have this huge opportunity for growth and expansion. There's really no limit to it, because no matter how much you can ever know, you can ever grow, you can ever explore and level up in any of those things, there is still so much more that you could potentially develop in so many different verticals and different directions within yourself to round yourself out as an individual, different skill sets, all of that kind of thing. So I just thought that was really an interesting concept. I thought, I'm a bit of a word nerd, so I like the fact that that has happened with those two terms. There's other terms in English that do that as well, but those two are kind of quite related around this one topic. And I think it's really relevant to how to approach growth and mindset shifts in terms of in a practical way, because people, we often hear like, oh, you need to step outside of your comfort zone. Whatever you want, nothing's going to change if you don't change. Whatever you want is on the other side of your comfort zone, all of that kind of thing. But practically looking at that from the reality of the situation that those word changes represent in how, the English language over time has kind of been grappling with this idea about how to describe this phenomenon in a way that it's, on the one hand, this, but on the other hand, also that. And it really does, I think, dance around the issue quite nicely, because it's both things all at once. There's a really cool quote on this. I am going to have to edit this later to attribute this one because I can't remember who it was from. But the quote is that the treasure that you seek is in the cave that you are most afraid to enter. And I think that's a fantastic quote. It just goes perfectly with all of this talk of dragons and rabbits and explorers and the terrible and terrific, awfully awesome. Hi, it's Future Mark here with the quote attribution from Joseph John Campbell. I actually also misquoted it, but I'm going to leave the previous version in because I kind of like the wording of both. But the actual quote is, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." Anyway, tying that all together with everything else, I thought a good challenge for this episode would be to think about what that cave might be for yourself. What is it that you may have been putting off? What is it that you might be afraid to do, or even potentially be afraid to look at or think about? Is there a box somewhere in a deep, dark corner of your mind that you don't want to go to, right? Challenge yourself to at least identify the location of your cave. And that's something I've been trying to actually do recently myself. I've been challenging myself to do 3 things a day that scare me. And this podcast project is one of those. It's in the terrifying basket, because until I start doing this, I'm not a podcaster. But then if I continue to do this for a while, then I will just become a podcaster. That's just something that I do. But to a not a podcaster, doing a podcast is scary. So in order to, it's like exposure therapy. In order to overcome that fear, I have to become that thing. Tying all of that very nicely together, we have our dad joke for the day as well, which is, why do dragons sleep during the day? Because they fight knights. Sorry for that one. That's it. Have an awesome day. Call or text someone who randomly popped into your head and just see how they're doing. I love you, just the appropriate amount. So, take whatever is weird and then take a healthy step backwards from that line. That's how much, all right? Just that amount. All right, catch ya. Bye. Are you picking up what I'm laying down? Are you sniffing what I'm stepping in? If you're looking for a really valuable community centered around building your business, being really intentional with your spouse and kids, and if you think you can tolerate my terrible dad jokes, then join Family-Oriented Business Growers. It's awesome. There's self-paced challenges designed to help you solve key pain points within your business in short, intentional sprints. There's awesome people in there doing awesome things who have experience with stuff that can help you, having stood where you stand. You'll benefit from what's in there, we'll benefit from having you in there, you legend you, and best of all, it's totally free and also free of toxic shenanigans because we don't tolerate none of that. The mission of the group is to help 250 family-oriented home service business owners reclaim 5 hours per week for what matters most whilst growing their business this year. So jump in there and get amongst it. Join via warplan.au. That's warplan.au. Oh no. He's early. Warplan.au. Catch you in there.